Hi, my name is Alex Vance. I was a software architect in Silicon Valley. I wasn't driven by flashy apps. I was driven by security. I aimed to build the perfect, untouchable digital fortress.
My masterpiece was Aether Vault, the most secure, cloud-based data storage system ever created for high-frequency trading. We founded Apex Digital with my best friend James Reed. Its core feature was its absolute transparency to authorized internal auditors, making it the perfect tool for compliance.
The system was literally unhackable from the outside, but knowing the complexity, James and I embedded one single critical zero-day backdoor, a nearly undetectable vulnerability. We swore we would never use it. It was our emergency kill switch, our shared secret, and ultimately, my doom.
The massive investment bank, Aegis Capital, offered Apex Digital an obscene amount of money for an exclusive license. James pushed hard for the sale. My instinct told me the reason Aegis wanted full control wasn't security, it was secrecy. I trusted my lifelong friend and signed the papers.
The sale went through, and 2 weeks later, the world changed. I was locked out of the Apex Digital server. The news headlines were devastating. Aegis Capital compromised. Apex Digital's Aether Vault blamed for massive data breach.
James then publicly released a statement claiming that the backdoor security flaw designed by Alex Vance was the point of entry. He presented fabricated evidence showing that I had intentionally left the vulnerability open. I was publicly accused of professional negligence. They used my genius to frame me, giving Aegis Capital the perfect excuse to seize full, unscrutinized control of Aether Vault, and the ability to exploit the backdoor without my ethical oversight.
The fallout was immediate and catastrophic. I was officially terminated from Apex Digital, and every penny of my corporate shares went into the legal defense fund for the data breach. James orchestrated my public firing and the freezing of my personal assets. I was blacklisted by every major financial institution.
James Reed and Aegis Capital executives looked clean. They used the staged breach as a smokescreen, claiming they had to liquidate certain assets before the breach became public, assets they knew would soon crash. This liquidation, made through untraceable transactions facilitated by James using our shared backdoor, saved them hundreds of millions.
I knew the truth. The breach was a coordinated inside job. Aegis Capital didn't want the perfect vault. They wanted the perfect alibi for mass insider trading. My backdoor wasn't used to steal data. It was used to route illicit transactions and then cover the digital tracks. I spent 6 months working as an anonymous ghost consultant. I realized that my goal wasn't just to prove my innocence, but to expose the true criminal enterprise they had built on my foundation. My revenge wouldn't be a hack. That would make me a criminal. My revenge had to be documentation. I still possessed the knowledge of the deprecated key phrase to the back door. I created a stealth program designed to enter the back door, not to steal, but to timestamp and log every suspicious transaction.
I named it Project Pandora. My Pandora would open the vault to expose their evil, and the hope would be the irrefutable digital evidence I collected. I was no longer an architect. I was a cyber auditor, ready to turn the system against its criminal owners.
Project Pandora was my digital ghost. Using the deprecated key phrase, I slipped the stealth monitoring software through the Aether Vault backdoor. It merely read the transactions flowing through that specific illicit pathway, documenting the digital signatures and timestamps for every exchange. The logs flooded my secure server.
James and senior Aegis Capital executives were using the back door to execute millions of dollars worth of financial fraud every single day. The back door was their private, hidden highway for corporate crime.
Aegis's internal security teams noticed extremely subtle data spikes, ghost pings, that indicated something was monitoring the system. They began patching vulnerabilities, making continued surveillance exponentially riskier.
Then, a message arrived through an ultra-secure network. The message was simple. I am tracking the $200 million anomaly from Q3 2024. I know that money was routed through the Aether backdoor, not a breach. I need the time-stamped log.
The sender was Helena. She was a specialist in financial crimes for a major federal auditing agency, and she had been silently building a case against Aegis Capital for years. She had watched my public downfall and correctly inferred the truth.
I established a secure connection. Helena wasn't looking for a hack. She was looking for irrefutable evidence. We need data that is provably internal and time-stamped to stand up in court. Your Pandora is the only way to get the evidence needed to indict the C-suite, including James, for criminal conspiracy.
Helena was my legal conduit. I realized that my revenge could now serve justice. We formed an unlikely, high-stakes partnership. The architect who became the cyber auditor and the federal agent who was finally ready to open the vault.
Helena and I executed the final risky data transfer of the Project Pandora logs, ensuring the cryptographic integrity of every time-stamped transaction to make it fully admissible in federal court.
This is it, Alex. We're opening the vault.
The effect was instantaneous and devastating. The next morning, financial news was preempted by breaking reports. Federal agents from the SEC and the FBI swarmed the Aegis Capital headquarters. Billions in assets were immediately frozen. The market was in chaos. The federal prosecutor held a press conference, confirming massive, systematic insider trading and fraud. The key detail: the prosecutor revealed that the massive 2024 data breach was a deliberately staged event designed to cover up the illicit transactions and to frame a whistleblowing architect. My name, Alex Vance, was finally cleared.
The most satisfying moment came hours later. James Reed was filmed being led away by two federal agents. His face was white, utterly shattered by disbelief.
I logged into the old secure channel James and I used to use for celebratory messages. I typed a final message to the man who betrayed me.
My message was simple. The only unhackable system is the one that destroys itself from the inside. We swore we wouldn't use it. Now I have the logs, James. Hope is the only thing left in Pandora's box. My revenge was the financial justice the system couldn't deliver on its own.
My name was cleared, but I had no intention of returning to Silicon Valley. The massive corporate offers flooded in, but I refused them all. My fight was never about money. It was about integrity.
James Reed received a harsh sentence. Aegis Capital was crippled by the scandal, facing billions in fines and shareholder lawsuits. The colossal investment bank was slowly dismantled.
My partnership with Helena became permanent. I realized that my most valuable invention wasn't the Aether Vault system itself, but Project Pandora, the methodology for ethical, verifiable digital documentation. I now work as an anonymous, specialized consultant, building invisible audit systems for federal agencies.
The greatest lesson I learned is this: do not trust a contract. Trust the code. Trust the algorithm you can verify, not the promise of a man you can't. The fight against corruption isn't one in the boardroom. It's one in the server room. I lost my career, my company, and my best friend, but I gained justice. I now dedicate my skills not to building bigger walls, but to building better windows. Windows through which the truth can finally shine.
My methods exposed one of the biggest financial conspiracies of the decade, but I had to use a secret, undocumented backdoor and operate outside the standard legal procedures to get the evidence. Tell me, did Alex Vance, the cyber architect, cross an ethical line by using the backdoor, even though it resulted in justice and the prosecution of massive financial crimes? Write your opinion in the comments below. If this story about justice, code, and financial revenge resonated with you, subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. Let's prove that integrity in the digital world is the ultimate power.